I sought the Lord, and He answered me and delivered me from every fear. And those who look.
Haven't there been those times when you've been scared and you just go, but I sensed God? Those times, whether it was overseas or wherever, you just walked out and as terrified as you were, you sensed the presence of God and you just felt this peace that you don't feel in comfort. A couple years ago, I was in Korea. I was in Seoul, and I had just an incredible honor of having dinner with this guy there in Seoul. He was remember about 3-4 years ago, those Korean missionaries that were abducted by the Taliban in Afghanistan, and they started killing them one by one? This was one of the guys. And we're having dinner, and he's explaining the situation to me, what it was like. And he says the first day, I believe he said there were 23 of them to start. And they confiscated everything, but one of the gals still had a Bible on her. And so she ripped it into 23 pieces and snuck a piece to each person. So they said, because the Taliban were going to separate them and isolate them so they couldn't, figure anything out together. And they said, this way, if you're ever alone, just grab a piece of scripture when no one's looking and be encouraged by it. Then he says, one at a time, all 23 of them, one at a time, surrendered their lives to Jesus and said, Lord, if you would rather me die for you, then so be it. Whatever will bring you more glory. And then the pastor says to them, he says, I've spoken to them. I've spoken to the Taliban. They're going to begin killing us. And I said, when you kill, you must kill me first because I am their pastor. Then this guy I was having dinner with said he spoke up at that time and said, no. He says, I too am a pastor and I am your elder. I die first. And then the other pastor speaks up and he says, no, you have not been ordained. I have been ordained. It's true. He goes, I die first. And sure enough, that other pastor died first. And they killed him, threw his body out, killed another person, threw the body out. And then somehow they got rescued. We're still not sure all the details of how those guys, you remember that? It was just kind of weird. Suddenly, wait, they're free now. What happened? Regardless of what happened, he says the amazing thing, he said at that time, he goes, we've been back to Seoul for about 1.5 years now. And he says, one by one, all of the people that went on that trip with me, they've come to me and they'd say, Pastor, don't you wish we were still there? Don't you wish we were still there in Afghanistan? They said because, they said when I was in that pit and I didn't know what was going to happen to me, I was so close to Jesus. I felt an intimacy with him that I've never felt before. And now that we're back in safety, I've tried to fast, I've tried to pray, and it's not the same. I wish I could be back there. And he says they all think this way. I thought, man, are you kidding me? You'd rather be in a pit right now, surrounded by Taliban, wondering what they're going to do to you next. Because you experience the presence of Jesus. Is the presence of Jesus that precious that you would go for that? That's an amazing thought. Don't you wish we were still there? Because there's something about those times. And I thought, yeah, different missionary stories I've read, it's at the times of danger that somehow it was like God's presence was with them. Then I thought, that's the same as Stephen. Remember the story of Stephen? When Stephen is about to get stoned for sharing that gospel message, suddenly they're about to throw rocks at him, and he looks and he goes, I can see Jesus right now. No way. I see Jesus. He's right there at the right hand of God. Go ahead and throw your rocks. Because God is with me, and they stone him to death. It's the same as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? They throw him in the fire, and they go, wait, who's that fourth person? There was something about the presence of God in the midst of the fire, in the midst of the danger that they didn't get in the midst of comfort. Now, I'm not saying that we just go and try to get hurt or we go and try to suffer. I'm just saying let's just stop avoiding it. And we look for the problems, we look for where the issues are, where it may be dangerous, but there's tremendous needs there.